الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم واضمم يدك إلى جناحك تخرج بيضاء من غير سوء آية أخرى لنريك من آياتنا الكبرى اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى قال رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين وصلى الله وسلم على نبينا الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Respected elders and brothers, our beloved viewers at home, alhamdulillah, every Sunday we try to sit down for a little bit and try to talk about some of the verses of the Quran and try to ponder over the meanings of them as well. So alhamdulillah, last week we started the Tafsir and the meaning of Surah Taha, and we got to the point where Allah Azza wa Jal told and commanded Musa alayhi salam to throw his stick and his staff, and that staff and that stick would turn into a snake. And then after that, Allah Azza wa Jal told Musa alayhi salam of another sign, وَاضْمُمْ يَدَكَ إِلَى جَنَاحِكَ تَخْرُجْ بَيْضَاءَ مِنْ غَيْرِ سُوءٍ آيَةٍ أُخْرَى. Another sign of his prophethood was that Allah told him, وَاضْمُمْ يَدَكَ إِلَى جَنَاحِكَ. He told him to place his hand below the upper part of his arm. And it would تَخْرُجْ بَيْضَاء. It would come out as a beautiful light, like the moonlight. غَيْرِ سُوءٍ. It's not because of any sickness or disease or leprosy. People might think that it's a disease, but rather it's not a disease, it's a miracle. Another sign, ayatan ukhra, another sign of your prophethood. Because like again we said, that time, it was the time of illusions and magic and etc. Whoever can excel and whoever was good at that, people respected them and they gave them value. So that's why Musa alayhi salam was able to perform such miracles and such stunts, because it served his purpose of proving that he is a prophet. لِنُرِيَكَ مِنْ آيَاتِنَا الْكُبْرَى, so that we may show you some of our greater signs. Okay, so now what's the whole point of all of these signs and giving him all of these miracles? The whole point is اذهب إلى فرعون إنه طغى. Allah tells Musa alayhi salam that go to Fir'aun, and إنه طغى, he has transgressed, he has crossed all limits, he has sinned against Allah Azza wa Jal. Go to him and invite him to Allah. Right, so some might say, well, if Musa alayhi salam, he was doing fine and he was okay in Madian with Shu'aib alayhi salam and his daughter, and he's living a life there, what's the whole point of coming back to Misr? One, some say that the reason why he had to come back to Misr was to meet his mom, his mother, and another was that this is the reason, that Fir'aun was going overboard. He was crossing all limits with Bani Israel. He was oppressing them, and he knew no boundaries when it came to Bani Israel and how to treat them. So Allah told Musa alayhi salam that you go and try to fix this guy, try to لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Perhaps he might remember, his heart might wake up again. So just as a reminder, you go to him. اذهب إلى فرعون. So he said that he did not, even though Musa alayhi salam, he had some difficulties when it came to speaking. He wasn't able to speak too well. He had a stammer, he had a stutter, and he wasn't very eloquent. So he could have said, Ya Allah, that I can't do this job, this is not for me, and I'm not made for this, and I don't have the tools to do this either. Rather he said, رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي. Ya Allah, I am ready to do it and I'm okay to do it. Just اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي. Open up, expand my heart for this task, for this job. رَبِّ اشْرَحْ لِي صَدْرِي وَيَسِّرْ لِي أَمْرِي, and make my affair easy, make this easy for me. Right, so whatever task we have at hand and we try to start and begin, we should always seek the help of Allah Azza wa Jalla. Him being a prophet of Allah, he says, Ya Allah, yassir li amri, make my affair easy. وَاحْلُلْ عُقْدَةً مِّن لِسَانِي, and untie the knot in my tongue. So like we said, he had a stutter, he had a stammer, he wasn't too eloquent while he was speaking. Even Fir'aun, he uses that against Musa alayhi salam, and he tells his people that أم أنا خير من هذا الذي هو مهين ولا يكاد يبين. He tells his people that, hey, am I better, or this guy who can't even speak well, he can't make himself clear, is he better? Are you guys going to follow him or follow me? So Musa alayhi salam had a stammer and a stutter in his speech. So he said that, Ya Allah, if I'm going to go and speak to these people and deliver a message, I need to be able to be very clear about my message. So that's why untie the knot that is in my tongue. And some say the reason why he had the stammer and the stutter in his tongue is because when he was young, Fir'aun one time came to him, grabbed him, held him, and Musa alayhi salam, he was a baby. He kind of pushed him, smacked him, and pulled his beard. And Fir'aun was very offended, and he was saying that, how can this little child do this to me, and I'm going to make an example out of him. So his wife Asiya, she said that, listen, it's just a little child, he's a baby. There's no reason to punish a child for something that he's unaware of, and he doesn't know what he's doing. So she said that, look, you can put some gold in front of him, and you can put some charcoal in front of him, and he won't know, he won't be able to differentiate between the two, just to prove it to you that, don't punish the guy, he doesn't know what he's doing or saying. And so that's what they did. They placed some charcoals and some gold in front of him. And as a child, he was about to go and grab the jewels. And Jibreel alayhi salam came and stirred him away, and he grabbed the charcoal. Because by taking some of the charcoal, he might have caused some harm to himself temporarily. But if he went and took some of the gold, then Fir'aun would have killed him. So that's how he got the stammer and the stuttering. So he says that, Ya Allah, remove and untie this stutter from my tongue. So another thing to see here is to acknowledge your mistakes. If you do have some shortcoming, acknowledge it and ask Allah Azza wa Jal for help. Right? Whatever it might be that you're going out to achieve in life, whether it's a certain career, a certain job, whatever it might be, and you see that you are unfit and maybe something you can't do, maybe there's a subject that is hard for you, or whatever it might be. Maybe it's your first time you're buying a house, or first time you're buying a car. You're unaware, you're unsure, you're going into uncharted territories. First time, everything is difficult. So whatever task it might be like the Prophet Musa alayhi salam. Just ask, Ya Allah, yassirli amri, make my affair easy for me. A lot of times people might not feel safe going to Hajj because it's a long ordeal, experience that they have never done in their life, and they have to do this for the first time. They don't know how it's going to be, and everybody is for themselves, right? So especially when it comes to religious things that you have to do but you're not sure about, you should ask Allah for help and move forward, right? Some hear of stories that happen in Hajj. Oh, the crane fell and there's people die, this and that, and they back away from it. But that shouldn't be the case. All right, so he says, يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي, Allah, remove and untie this knot from my tongue so that they can understand me. يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي وَجَعَلْ لِي وَزِيرًا مِنْ أَهْلِي. And he says that my brother Harun was 4 years older than Musa alayhi salam. He said that this is such a huge task. It would be easier for me if someone came with me and did it, if we did it together. You do something together, it's easier. Right? 2 brains are better than 1. So he said, make my brother my partner, someone who will support me. Because Harun alayhi salam, he was actually more eloquent. وَأَخِي هَارُونَ هُوَ أَفْصَحُ مِنِّي لِسَانًا in Surah Qasas. Another verse, he says that, send my brother with me. He is أَفْصَحُ مِنِّي لِسَانًا. He is more eloquent than me. So being eloquent has its benefits, right? It has its benefits. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ مِنَ الْبَيَانِ لَسِحْرًا. That some form of speech is like magic, right? People can inspire you, people can motivate you, and people can make you do things just by the way they talk, right? It's like magic. I don't know if you guys know this. There's have been cults in previous history or recent history in America where the preacher or the motivational speaker, he takes the cult and the followers to a remote location, and he talks to them, he pumps them up, and he inspires them and motivates them, and he talks them into actually consuming poison. And it has happened like that in Utah or one of these places where dozens of people, hundreds of people, they all kill themselves because the preacher, he was motivating them, and he was almost, casting a spell and magic on them to go and consume this poison, and they kill themselves. So being eloquent and knowing how to talk has its benefit. You can get people to do things. Like, the salespeople, when you go to a shop, you want to buy something, they talk nice to you, they talk sweet to you, they will make you buy something that you don't even need. So it has its benefits, but you got to use it for the right reason. So he said, يَفْقَهُ قَوْلِي, so that they can understand my speech. Or send my brother with me so that he's more eloquent, he's more convincing, and he will be a better person who will be more instrumental to do this job. And ustud bi azri, he's increase with him my strength. وَأَشْرِكُ فِي أَمْرِي, and make him share my task. What's the reason? كَيْ نُسَبِّحَكَ كَثِيرًا, so that we may do more tasbih of you. وَنَذْكُرَكَ كَثِيرًا, and so that we may remember you a lot. إِنَّكَ كُنْتَ بِنَا بَصِيرًا. Sometimes when we do group works together, it defeats the purpose. The teacher gives you, okay, you guys do work in group. The point is that you're supposed to help one another do the work better. But sometimes when friends get together, they end up talking half the time. So here, their job was to go and give da'wah. When you go and give da'wah, obviously you need to be connected with Allah Azza wa Jal and, not waste time talking and chatting about different things. So they said that, give him with me, send him with me so that we may remember you more, and this will help us stay focused on our job. So Allah said, قَالَ قَدْ أُوتِيتَ سُؤْلَكَ يَا مُوسَى. Sorry, I had a call. وَلَقَدْ مَنَنَّا عَلَيْكَ مَرَّةً أُخْرَى. This is just one request that we're giving to you. But Allah Azza wa Jalla is mentioning to Musa alayhi salam that there are other many favors before this that we have also granted to you. And what was that favor? إِذْ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَى أُمِّكَ مَا يُوحَى, when we inspired your mother to do what she did. Now, we kind of have to go back a lot more in history to see what is happening. So the mother of Musa alayhi salam threw him, placed them in a cast, in a box, in a chest, and she threw him on the sea. So what's the reason why a mother has to throw her child in the sea? So Bani Israel, right, where did they come from to begin with? They are the descendants of Yaqub alayhi salam, and one of the sons of Yaqub alayhi salam, as we know, is Yusuf alayhi salam. And Yusuf alayhi salam, he came to Misr. He was sold as a slave, and he ended up being one of the ministers of the king. So Yusuf alayhi salam, when he settled in Egypt, his descendants, who were actually the descendants of Yaqub alayhi salam, they became Bani Israel. Israel is another name of Yaqub alayhi salam. Israel means Abdullah. Isra means Abd, and Il means Allah, Abdullah. So Yaqub alayhi salam's name was Israel. Another name for him. So Bani Israel, yani Bani Yaqub, the children of Yaqub. So after Yusuf a.s. passed away, the people of Egypt, they recognized how kind and generous and smart and intelligent Yusuf was, and they realized that Bani Israel were the descendants of Yusuf a.s. So they respected Bani Israel, they honored them, and Bani Israel, they actually had good businesses, they were rich, they were wealthy, they had a good place in Misr. But what ended up happening after some time is that they swayed away and strayed away from the path of Yusuf and all the other prophets. They did not stay on the right path, and they, slowly they started deviating from the path of Tawheed and the path that their forefathers Yusuf and Yaqub set for them. So slowly the people of Misr, they started seeing Bani Israel as outsiders. Like, these guys are not here to begin with. They're not from Misr. They came from somewhere else. Their fathers, Yusuf and their brothers, they came from somewhere else. They're not from this place. And look at them now, taking all of our businesses and, taking the business that we're supposed to get. They are the ones that are benefiting from our people. It's funny how we kind of hear the same and similar things from leaders in our country now, that we got to stop the people from coming from outside, and all these people that are here, we got to take them out. The job has to be for the people of this country, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's not something new, right? These things have passed in history. So they said that these guys came from outside, from another place, and now they're being like this, and look at them. So they started building this very ugly and very negative feeling towards them, that they're taking all of our jobs and they're taking our money away from us. So they started hating them almost, and so they just wanted them out of Misr. And then came Fir'aun, the famous Fir'aun that's mentioned in the Quran. Fir'aun is actually a title; it's not a person's name. Fir'aun is like saying president or Rais or the head of something. So Fara'ina, the Fir'aun came, the one that's mentioned in the Quran, and he was one of the worst of leaders. So he said, you know what, I'm going to fix these guys up. He was such an oppressive tyrant that he started using Bani Israel as slaves. He started making them do hard labor. And the only thing he would give them is the food for that day. You work day and night, labor, make this building, make this pyramid, do this and do that. And at the end of the day, they would just feed him just maybe a plate of food, some bread and some rice and some water, and that's it. And so what was the reason why Fir'aun wanted to slaughter all the children? So one of his kahin, soothsayers, the people that pretend to say the future, they have some links with the shayateen. So they'll take one fact and mix up 10 lies and they try to sell it to you. So they sometimes are able to tell the future because they have connections with the jinn, right? And so he came to Fir'aun and he said to Fir'aun that, listen, one of the Bani Israel is going to grow up one day and he is going to take over your kingdom, and he's going to be the reason why you will be destroyed and you will die. The reason for your destruction will be someone from the Bani Israel, a child from Bani Israel. And so Fir'aun, he was already an oppressive man. So he said, you know what? Every child, boy that is born in Bani Israel, I'm going to go and slaughter them, right? I'm going to go and slaughter all the boys that are born. So he wouldn't actually slaughter all of them, because if he slaughtered all the boys, then 10 years from now, he's not going to have manpower to do his work, his labor. So what he did is 1 year, he slaughtered all the boys, and the next year, he let them live. So what that did is, one, he didn't care, he showed his power. Another, it decreased the number of Bani Israel that were allowed to be born, right? And we saw this during in Nazi Germany and all of that. Similar things happened with the Jews and Hitler, right? He saw them similarly. He said, we don't want these people to grow and increase, and these things are not far-fetched. We can see them in history. So that's exactly what what's his name, Fir'aun, he did. He said that you have to cut down the number of children you can have. If you have children every year, we're going to have a problem. If this year you have any boys, then we're going to kill those boys. So that's what he started doing. Every day he would go out with his soldiers and his army, and he would kill dozens of children. Again, this is not far-fetched as well. You look at different countries. In Myanmar, what happened, they don't care. They slaughter and slice of people. Right? They'll treat them worse than animals just because of the hatred. Same exact thing. They say, oh, the Muslims in Myanmar, they're not from Myanmar, they came from somewhere else. Same exact thing. That this is our land and you're not from here, get out of here. We'll slaughter you if you have to. We'll burn your village down if you have to. So that's what he was doing. He was killing and slaughtering children. Dozens a day he would do. It was like Eid al-Adha. You know how you go on the day of Eid, and if you live in a Muslim country, you see blood everywhere. It would be like that. He didn't care. So what happened is Musa, he was born on a year that coincided with the year where he went out and slaughtered children. So what are you going to do? If Allah gives you a child, what are you going to do about it, right? You can't say, like nowadays we have choice. They call it Planned Parenthood, and they just end the pregnancy. Or some parents are ruthless. They will throw their child in a trash can. It happens. You see it in news, etc. Just recently in Qatar airport, there was a baby found in the bathroom, right? And then they had to stop the airplane and take out the women or whatever, and they had to test them whose child it was. But you see these things happening. So if Allah gives you a child, what are you going to do? So the mother of Musa, what's she going to do? She can't just throw out the child. So she actually kept the child hidden for 3 months. She kept Musa hidden for 3 months. But she knew that if they find out about Musa, they're gonna kill him. So what did Allah do? Now we're going back to the part where Allah says, إِذْ أَوْحَيْنَا إِلَىٰ أُمِّكَ مَا يُوحَى. When we inspired your mother, what we inspired. Meaning Allah inspired her, sent wahi to her in her dream. So there's different types of wahi. One wahi is only for prophets, and another inspiration that is just the inspiration that comes to your heart from Allah Azza wa Jalla. And that can happen to other than prophets as well. Just like وَأَوْحَى رَبُّكَ إِلَى النَّحْلِ, Allah said that He inspired the bee to make homes in the mountains, etc. So we inspired your mother to do what? أَنِ اقْذِفِيهِ فِي التَّابُوتِ. She was very concerned what to do with her child. Because what if one day they're passing by and they hear a child crying? They're going to come and slaughter and finish. So Allah inspired her, اقْذِفِيهِ فِي التَّابُوتِ. Throw him in a chest, in a box. فَقْذِفِيهِ فِي الْيَمِّ. And then throw him in the well. Sorry, not in the well. Throw him in the river. فَلْيُلْقِهِ الْيَمُّ بِالسَّاحِلِ. And then the river will throw him by the shore. يَأْخُذْهُ عَدُوٌّ لِي وَعَدُوٌّ لَهُ. And then an enemy of mine and an enemy of him will take him. وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِّنِّي. And I place love for you, for the people, and so that وَلِتُصْنَعَ عَلَى عَيْنِي, you can grow up under my supervision. This is what Allah Azza wa Jalla is saying. So now the mother of Musa, she places him in a chest, in a box, and just throws him in the water. Okay, and what Fir'aun was doing is he had a lot of castles, right? He had many of the castles, and he would visit a different castle on a different day. So one day he was in one of his castles sitting with his wife and just talking about things, sunset, enjoying the sunset or whatever, enjoying the view. And he saw that there was something in the water. Actually, the wife saw something in the water, like a wooden box. And she said that's a wooden box in there. He's like, no, that's not a wooden box. Who would throw a wooden box in the water? That's just probably a piece of wood. So she said, no, you got to look closer. And then Fir'aun ordered his servants to go and pick that up and see what's inside. So they went, they picked it up, and they saw that it was actually a box, and there was a child inside. Okay, and they brought him up, and immediately the wife of Fir'aun, Asiya, she didn't have children of her own, so immediately she fell in love with this child, and she wanted to keep him as her own child. So that's what it means. وَأَلْقَيْتُ عَلَيْكَ مَحَبَّةً مِّنِّي. We place love of you to people. So she's one of the people who fell in love with this child. So they took her home, and everybody was talking about this child. And have you heard the story today? There's a child that was found in the box, and it just came out of nowhere, etc., etc. So now the problem came. There's a new problem, which is who's gonna breastfeed and give milk to this child. Back in the days, there wasn't like formula or things that you can buy from the supermarket for the baby. It had to be natural milk. So now, and the only way a mother can have milk is after birth. Now, there's no one that gave birth in the castle of Fir'aun. So they started looking for someone who can be a foster mother and feed this child. So now they're going around the whole city looking for a mother who recently gave birth, so that they can feed Musa. So they go and call many different women. They say, come and try to feed this child. So even the best of the best women came, and they weren't able to get this baby to breastfeed from their milk. And finally, Musa's mother, she sent her daughter to go and see what happened to this box, and if Musa actually made it out alive, or if he drowned in the water. So she came following the box, and she saw that it ended up in the castle of Fir'aun. And she heard them talk about they need someone to breastfeed this child. And they even called women from far places. Even the best of the best came, and Musa rejected. He would just cry and reject, and he wouldn't drink from their milk. So then this child came, his sister came and said that I know a woman, I know someone that he will not reject, that she is the best, and I know her. So that's when she suggested that her mother the mother of Musa, and her, she comes and breastfeeds the child. So that's how Allah Azza wa Jalla returned Musa alayhi salam to his mother. وألقيت عليك محبة مني ولتصنع على عيني إذ تمشي أختك فتقول هل أدلكم على من يكفله. When your sister was walking and tracing behind you, and she suggested that shall I show you someone who can take responsibility of this child and breastfeed him. فرجعناك إلى أمك. And then Allah said that we returned you to your mother. كي تقر عينها, so that her eye can be cool again, meaning so that she can be satisfied, she can have a peace of mind again about her child. Right? Imagine you throwing your child somewhere like that. How would your night and day be? وَلَا تَحْزَنْ, and so that she is not sad. وَقَتَلْتَ نَفْسًا فَنَجَيْنَاكَ مِنَ الْغَمِّ وَفَتَنَّاكَ فُتُونًا. Then Allah reminds me again that you also killed a nafs, a soul, and we saved you from that grief, and then we tested you after that when you went to Madian. فَلَبِثَّ سِنِينَ فِي أَهْلِ مَدْيَنَ ثُمَّ جِئْتَ عَلَى قَدَرِ يَا مُوسَى. And then Allah says that you stayed in Madian for some time, and then you came back to Musas to give da'wah to Fir'aun. So we will continue from this part inshallah next week, where Musa alayhi salam and his brother, they both go to Fir'aun and try to make an attempt to give da'wah to Fir'aun. And we'll see what was his reaction or what was further instruction that Allah gave to them. Inshallah, we'll stop here. Jazakumullah khairan for tuning in today. Allah Azza wa Jal write this in our mizan of hasanat. Allah Azza wa Jal give us all the tawfiq to ponder over the Quran and to implement them in our lives, inshallah. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه.